I'm Laurie Rodan. I am a professional singer for over 30 years. I have sung in a lot of different theater with a lot of different theater companies. I've done cabaret, inspirational music. I am just passionate about singing. I have written a show in the last 7 years. I started working on a show because I was looking for something to do that was original, and I had been going to my voice teacher and singing, and just my kids, my daughters were going to college, and they were auditioning for colleges. And at that time I thought, I don't know, I feel like my life is changing a little. My daughters are, going to be out of the nest, and what do I want to do that might be a little different? And so I started thinking about things that were inspiring to me. And my voice teacher said, maybe you should do a cabaret or do a one woman show. And I thought, well, that sounds like a lot of fun and interesting. And yeah, maybe I should think about something like that. And so I, delved deep into this, thinking about, well, what inspired me the most growing up, and what inspired me to sing, who inspired me to sing. And really, when I was little, I actually grew up in Moraga, California. And I listened. Well, my dad was a musician. He was a clarinet player, and he had all kinds of music. I loved folk music, Mamas and the Papas, Peter, Paul and Mary, all of that great music. But Karen Carpenter and the Carpenters' music had the most impact in my life. And I would lay by the speakers for hours and listen to their music and just sing along. So I realized, Karen Carpenter had the most impact on me growing up. And I, always wanted to meet her, and I wanted to be a singer. And so that was in my mind. And I thought, well, what kind of show would I do if I was talking about maybe that influence in my life? And so the show went through a lot of different, as shows do, they go through different, processes and different forms. And I wasn't sure if I would do what it would be, but I decided after a lot of read-throughs and things, that I would be doing a show actually about my life and my life story through the music of Karen Carpenter, through the Carpenters' music.
Okay, I'm gonna pause there. So
Sorry.
thank you for taking the time. No, this is great. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us about kind of your journey. Part of this interview comes about because you have a concert coming up at Town Hall Theater.
I do.
Lafayette.
Yes.
So yeah, like I would love to learn more about your artistic process, and sort of, it sounds like your music, your art is inspired by your own life journey.
Yes.
And I've read about your kind of passion for living a version of your dreams. So I'm excited to unpack that, and also even to talk a little bit about how does identity change as women. Sometimes women start to feel less visible as we age.
Yes.
Right? So I'd love to hear about all of that. So let's start by talking about how you ended up with having, well, it sounds like you had an inspiration for this show as you were becoming an empty nester.
Yeah.
So there'll be steps to talk through to figure out how the show came to completion. But how did you end up getting something scheduled at the Town Hall Theater in Lafayette?
Yes. So when I actually had my show, what I wanted to, I had my show, Laurie Sings a Song for You, a cabaret concert inspired by the music of Karen Carpenter. I realized that that the very first theater I ever went to as a little girl was Town Hall Theater, and it was called the Dramateurs. And that was the very first show I ever saw was at Town Hall Theater when it was Dramateurs. And so I went to see A Christmas Carol.
And what year are we talking about?
Oh, okay. It was a little ways back. I grew up in the 70s. So it was probably sometime late 70s when I went there. Or mid 70s.
And it's the same building, which
it is the same. Yes. Yeah. And just different name. And I mean, I remember the building. I remember, where the cabaret is downstairs, where the bar and the entry, the cabaret, where the snacks and stuff are, is where I remember going to meet the actors after the Christmas Carol and having wassail and Christmassy things, and I just it had a real impact on me. Yeah.
So, okay. So you have a connection to this place. And so you've been working on it sounds like you have a voice instructor.
Oh, I've had a lot of different coaches over my lifetime. I currently, not right now. I've been, gone through a lot of processes with different teachers, but my husband kind of coaches me here and there. He's a singer too. He spent 30 years in New York doing on and off Broadway, and so yeah, he coaches me now. But
Okay.
yeah,
And what did you do? Do you have, I always ask this, do you
yeah.
have a day job in addition to your passion for singing?
Yeah, well, I actually sing for my day job too. My day
Exciting.
job,
That's awesome.
yeah. I actually started a business, I don't know, it's been about 8 years now, called A Voice to Comfort. And I had a friend of mine actually ask me if I would come and sing for one of her senior living communities that she works at, because she had a year of different themes they were doing, different Broadway themes that they were doing. It was Brookdale Celebrates Broadway. And a good friend of mine was working there as the activity director, and so I started to sing, and each month there would be a different theme, and she, and there were just all these different locations. And so it was perfect timing, because it was also around the time when my daughters were, well, they were actually in high school, and getting ready to go to college. And so it was a great job. So I love, that's my day job. I go around and sing and bring music, kind of like music therapy, but it's music to a lot of the different local senior living communities with a different theme each month.
And you've been doing that as your full-time gig for 8 years?
Yeah, that's kind of my job, or my so to speak day job. And then I also do a lot of concerts and things, and also, so singing
Oh,
is,
cool.
yeah.
So you have this passion for singing and you're able to sustain yourself in some way, uh,
Yes,
that
I
way.
sing, yeah, I sing inspirational music. So I do a lot of different, events, even at churches and things. I love that. So I love that kind of music too. So
Okay, well, now let's dive into the content of your forthcoming show. Sounds like it's inspired by the Carpenters, and you said you use this music that inspired you to tell the story of your own life and some of the iterations of change you might have gone through.
yes.
Talk about some of those moments, of those life moments that will be covered in this one woman show of yours.
Yeah, it's actually really chronological for my life. There's just a lot of, the Carpenter songs, each they told stories. And each song was almost like, whole story. So I've taken the songs that kind of coincided with different times in my life, like Top of the World, when I was a little girl riding my purple banana seat bike in Moraga and feeling on top of the world. I sing Bless the Beast and the Children, about times that were, difficult when I was little, and, just awkwardness of being young, and, all of those things. And I go into, uplifting moments like Good Old Dreams and Performing Dreams I Had. We've Only Just Begun, at a point in my life when I had my kids. And so those are some of the songs, that it's very moving, and it's very inspirational, because I really, my what I really want people to take away from my show, and the reason really why I wrote this cabaret, is because I want to inspire people to never give up on their dreams, on their purpose and their passion in life. Because I definitely had a lot of years where I, had comeback moments, because I got distracted or I sabotaged myself. Like we all have those things that happen in life. But I always came back to singing, luckily. And but finally, I feel like this project has been really a culmination of my life. I talk about my life story.
Yeah, I love that. And some people, sometimes you'll hear people who have a different stance on dreams. They're like, "Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's nice that you have that, but don't worry about it. That's impractical. What are you really gonna do?" So, why? I mean, this is
Yes.
rhetorical because I also don't subscribe to that, but I would love to hear your answer. Like,
Yeah.
why go for these really impractical things?
I think I understand. I know exactly what you're saying, because I've had friends say that sometimes too, or people. But we all have gifts, right? That we've been given. So that's really my message. Now, it doesn't need to be music. We have gifts. Some people end up being, they're accountants, or they're whatever. It's your passion. I mean, some people are pilots. I mean, whatever you do in your life, that whatever you feel drawn to, and we all have passions, and we all have gifts. So my message is to embrace that, and to never give up on that, because I believe that we're most happy, and we also give back more to our community when we're doing what we're truly gifted and meant to be doing.
And I totally agree. I love that. Why did it feel important for you to do this show at this particular time as your kids are,
I think
getting up
it's
in
like,
college?
yeah, I think like you said too, my daughters were getting older and, then we're all getting older. And I was thinking, gosh, I've done a lot of shows. I've done, a lot of theater. I've done a lot of different concerts and I've done different, cabarets and different types of shows and performances. But, I started thinking about my legacy really, and listening to people. And that's when as my daughters have been getting older, and that really was hitting me like, what do I want to make sure that, almost like what do you want on your bucket list, but not just a bucket list, but more like, what's your legacy going to be? People may or may not remember you, but you want to leave your mark in the world, I feel, and you want to hopefully have a positive impact in your own sphere. And I believe we're kind of obligated in a way. I don't know. That's how I feel to do the most we can to leave something positive especially for our family. And I was thinking that for my daughters a lot in my life.
I love that, and I completely resonate with that. For me, when I went from being like this world traveler who flew around the world by the seat of her pants on a shoestring budget to this like stay at home, not stay at home, never
Yeah.
stay home, a a single working mom,
Yeah.
um, always falling a little short, and life kind of took a whirlwind turn. But I feel like I've seen this, and then when I became a mom, like my passport expired, all these different things that were a really big part of life kind of got set aside. And I
Yeah.
wonder if the same was true for you in some way. Maybe it's not your passport, but you mentioned that at some point you kind of would lose your rhythm or set things aside. Did mothering come first and some of these
Oh, yeah. Yes, I was still singing a lot, when my kids, in fact, it's funny because when my daughters were little, I thought, well, they're never going to want to sing because all we're doing is running around, practicing and rehearsing and singing. I mean, but still, yes, motherhood definitely, it changes you. It changes your perspective on your priorities in your life, and it definitely does. But some of the bumps were my own insecurity, my own lack of self-esteem, and giving my power away and not thinking, maybe I was good enough, having all those negative thoughts, that really affected my life when I was younger, especially. And that wasn't healthy, but so I feel like, okay, I'm at this point in my life, I'm finally kind of doing something that I feel I've been meant to do. But it's okay that it's happening now, because that's kind of, I think, how it was supposed to happen. But we always want, we have regrets and things, but if we can focus on the positive and the lessons learned in our life.
right, we can't go back. We can only go ahead,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
May I ask you your age?
I am, yeah, you can ask me. I guess I'm 57. I'm 50.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love
I
that.
know. I'm like, I can't believe that sounds so weird. Sharon, to
Because
say.
we feel like we're just kids, but we're
Yeah,
just
I don't feel my age at all. But I guess that's what yeah.
I was thinking about this. I have the Calm app, and I was listening to this podcast that was by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Oh yeah.
She wrote Eat, Pray, Love. That's not my favorite of her books, but she has some good books. But she did this podcast about when she was, starting like waiting tables and trying to write and not getting any writing done. And she talked to this visual artist who was like, "Oh, why aren't you getting it done?" And it's like, "Oh, I have to hang out with this person and I have to work." And then the artist was like, "Oh, so you have time to take extra shifts at work? Oh, you
Right.
have time to watch TV? Okay."
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah,
and then
exactly.
and then like I loved it though, because in the end it's like we do have a finite amount of time and not
Yeah.
everybody is necessarily called to do something, just to do the same thing that we're called to do. So it's really about finding that like inner light within and like
Yes,
not necessarily waiting for somebody to give you permission, but doing it anyway.
exactly.
When
I
did that
totally,
happen for you? Like, how did you quiet
uh,
down those critical voices and let that inner light like come through?
well, it has been, it has been a process of, you know, I mean, help in my life with certain people in my life, certain moments, things that happened that made me think more about something. you know, something interesting you said is that, maybe we may not all have like a show that we're going to do, where I'm out there with it, but one thing that I've learned too is we don't realize and that the impact that we might have on somebody else's life that will never be said. That we could have given somebody an inspiration. I mean, we can also do this in a negative way. We hope that we say things positively, but we can be really a pivotal point of someone's life, and we don't know that impact we've made, maybe till, maybe we see them, at another time, but that's something that I think is important for people to know. It doesn't necessarily have to be a show, whatever we do in our life, we still can impact people, with what our life, with our life. Yeah.
Yeah. And so do you remember the point where
Oh,
the shift came about for you, where you like,
yeah.
were able
Well,
to get out of your own way kind of?
yeah, I think, yeah, I've had some things happen in my life where, some big changes happen in my life, things that have changed the trajectory of my life a little bit, and things that made me think more about life. So, and I won't go into all that, but it's just there were things that happened in my life that made me um realize that again, like I said earlier, more about, what legacy am I going to leave for my daughters, and what's that impact going to be? So it was an accumulation of a few different things, including grief and things that happened to me that just opened my eyes. But I also have a power of my faith. I am a strong faith person. I believe that God does help us in our life. So I have that faith that's helped me. And so in my own journey of that, just realizing finally, and again, I told you my age, it's just been a few years of, I'm in my 50s. And it's taken me a long time to really trust that, it doesn't matter what anybody else, all of because there's always going to be people that are going to judge you and criticize you and not support you, but that doesn't matter, because when you have a dream and something in your life you're supposed to share, when you can find that within you to pull up your bootstraps or whatever and just go for it. And my husband has helped me a lot and supported me. And and my daughter, and so I've had some good friends along the way too, and mentors in my life that have come
Wonderful.
along at good times, including Dawn Huntington, who was my co-writer, who really actually helped me so much to do this too, because he's an amazing writer. He unfortunately he passed away, and I miss him deeply. But he left an amazing impact on me, and really helped me, I think, to realize I actually wrote this with him, so I kind of learned a little bit about writing, but that was really made me brave, help make me more brave, I think.
So when you're talking about writing this, you're talking about writing the show that you're about to.
Yes, I mean, my show is a cabaret concert, so it's my cabaret, but in cabarets you have banter, you talk. So in my cabaret I wrote my life story basically through, I mean, just parts of my life throughout the show. So I talk about different moments through this, and the song backs up the moment in my life. Like I said, top of the world, growing up in Moraga, we've only just begun, having my children. And so there's certain songs, and everybody has memories of those, people that know the music, even people that don't know the music, you can listen to it and you can think of something in your life that you relate to. And so, yeah, so that's how I kind of wrote this show as a cabaret, to just an inspiring, uplifting story, you know.
I love that. And you said one of the things you want the audience to take away is that it's never too late to pursue your dreams.
Yes.
And I always think there's like there's sort of there's power in specificity and then of course relatability. So it sounds like the story will be specific to you, but talk about why it will be relatable to the audience, or how it will be relatable to them.
Yeah, I think the reason that yes, it will be relatable because, for one thing, a lot of people do have memories of the Carpenters music, and they kind of remember where they were, for certain songs, and it's nostalgic. But when I'm talking about my life and going through, different things I went through, anxiety, depression, and of course we all know, Karen Carpenter had an eating disorder, and I touch upon that as well. And different moments in my life where I kind of had I went through some similar things. Everybody, a lot of people can relate to those different moments in their lives of having those types of feelings and struggles. And also I talk about, and I have funny stories in there of some of when I was doing shows in Walnut Creek, and I have a funny story about the song For All We Know. I talk about this experience when I was doing a play 8 feet above the audience in this teeny tiny little stage. And I talked about my fear of heights, but I talk about relationships. I go through, all of us can relate to different, to love that we have had and love that we've lost, mistakes we've made, and learning from that.
That's really beautiful. When in your journey did you discover singing? And how did you start going down that path?
Yeah, well, that was singing, literally laying as a 3-year-old next to the speakers in my parents' house in Moraga. And I literally was born singing. I mean, I loved singing from the time I can remember. I always had just a connection, well, specifically to the Carpenters' music, but I love music. And so I just would sing and sing. That was definitely well known from when I was a little girl. So I've always done it. But I've had times in my life when I could have followed this path, and I sort of sabotaged myself and didn't. I try not, at this point in my life, I don't really look at things as regrets. I mean, we all have those, we think about that, but I don't focus on that. And I try to tell people, don't focus on that, because don't look back on those things. Just keep moving forward. And it's really never too late to make an impact and to pursue a dream.
I love that. Um, so if you were to think back to your time, the lessons that you've learned as you took on this big project, for example, putting together a woman show in your mid-50s, that's awesome. And then
Thank
having
you.
had the
Thank you.
experience not only of a life of singing, but also a mother and other roles that you've played, a performer. What would you say is the most important lesson you've learned on your journey so far?
Oh, wow. I didn't have the question in advance.
Yeah, I know.
Oh
I
my gosh,
always
there are
throw that one in, and
oh
people's
man.
answers out, and maybe you have a few, and you think about something in particular that sort of sits with you.
Here's a really good one, I think, for me. And I have had the help of a lot of friends, and like a lot of us maybe have had therapists. I've had a lot of really good therapists help me along the way, which has been really important. I always say that's really good to do if you need it. I definitely did. I think a really big lesson that I have learned, especially even as of lately, is to try to learn to let go of the things that are out of your control. That is hard to do. And I have had to do a lot of that. And we can't control. All we can do is control what we have control over, and to do the best we can with our impact and what our resources and to try to you know learn that lesson. I think that's a big thing to try to.
What is it that taught you that lesson, or how did you really learn to embrace it? See, I'm going in for the specificity
You
too.
are, I know,
Like,
you're really trying to get there, Sharon.
what I
Yeah.
can appreciate about what you're telling me about your show is once you start saying, "Oh, it's gonna touch on anxiety and depression and,
Yeah.
all these things," it becomes very relatable, and when you're vulnerable, it invites other people.
Yes.
So
I
at the
I
level you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, I know anxiety. I've had anxiety like my whole life. And I think, I've let it control me in the way you know, it's been hard for me to, um, to learn that lesson of not being able, to let go. And I remember a friend of mine gave me this book, and it's like, she's like, "Oh, you're codependent." And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not." I'm not codependent or what. But I guess done a lot of reading about that and realized, wow, I needed to really learn to just, to let go and not worry so much, I think, about what other people think about things too, and more about what really my true, and not let people take away my joy. And but also to learn to, you know listen better, I think, in life too. sometimes things go wrong in life because you're not listening good enough to other people too. And I think that's so important for us to learn. And I just for myself, I think slowing down more and learning that lesson of listening, letting go also, but also listening to your instincts too, because I think that's really important as women too, that we have really good instincts. You know, we have really good ones, and sometimes, you know, those are really important to listen to. So yeah.
I kind of have to ask, have you seen the movie Barbie?
I did, and I wore my pink, and I took my mom, and it's so funny, I posted this picture, me and my mom wore our little pink dresses. I loved it. Yes.
What did you love about it, or what did you
I
know?
you know what? And this was so I loved how these women, you know, I loved I forget the actress's name, the other one, not the one that what is the other actress that was the mom of the young girl?
America Ferrera.
Yeah, I loved her, you know, big old speech and stuff. You know, we put so much pressure on ourselves, you know, and I loved how she just, you know, let it all out, you know, and a lot of that's so true, you know, and we can't do everything, you know, we have to, you know, we need to give ourselves not we can't, you know, we really need to focus on not trying to do everything, but to give ourselves a break and focus on, again, I always come back to those things that we are meant to do more, and not have to think that we have to do everything and be perfect at everything, because we're not going to be. And we do the best we can. We have mama bear instincts, you know, and but also to support our other friends around us. Another thing I talk about is supporting each other, you know, and not being almost like envious of other people, but that everybody, you know, let's lift each other up, you know, and support each other. So that's something that I loved about that. And that's something that I also talk about is, you know, and friends, I have two gals in my show that are singing, they sing backup with me, but they also sing a duet with me. And and they're great gals, and I have a great band and great people involved. But we all are doing this together. So we support each other.
And on that note, it's a nice segue. I think you mentioned that maybe there's the ending, or there's a piece that will include children as well.
Yes, it's kind of a
Next
little
generation.
surprise, but it's not, but it's a little surprise, but
I'm
it's
ruining a
well,
surprise.
it's no, it's okay. I mean, the Town Hall Kids Ensemble, they're the Town Hall Education, they're gonna be in the show, and it's really an awesome moment for bringing the younger generation too, which is part of what I talk about in my show too, is bringing them along to show, you know, sing your song. We all need to do that, and I want the kids to know that, and everybody to know that. You know, that's my big, you know, thing in my show, is to just sing your song, and don't worry. And this is a line from that song. Don't worry that it's not good enough for anyone else to hear. Just sing your song. You know,
And when you say sing your song, what do you mean
do
by that?
your passion and your purpose. It may not be singing a song like I'm doing, but do what that God created you to do, that you're meant to do on this earth, and embrace it, you know, and go for it. And support, and also to support everybody around us in doing that too. Not in conflict, to try to just embrace other people and support everybody doing their best and what they have to offer.
Awesome. And then this question could be anxiety provoking because you didn't have it ahead of time, which because you mentioned that about the other one. But if you think of the phrase the rhythm of change, what does that mean to you, and how does that apply to your life as you talk about this show, even, where you'll have multiple generations together?
Yeah, that's a great phrase. I love that. The rhythm of change. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, you know, we've had a lot of rhythm of change in the last 3 years with with our world. I mean, our world is just like, it's been really hard. And that's another reason why we don't know what's in the future, you know, and the rhythm of change is every day. But every day, you know, I mean, this sounds kind of cliche, but every day it really is a new opportunity to pick back up and, you know, keep going on what you're, you know, keep pursuing your dreams and stuff. So the rhythm of change is just something also that also ties into the anxiety of, you know, control, or we want to control things, or we want to make sure that we're doing everything, or everything perfect, everything right. And we can't do everything, and we need to learn to let go. I don't know if I'm answering that. Maybe
Totally. Yeah,
right?
it's
But
just a fun
yeah.
one to put out there. And then I would love for you to go over details of the show, how people can get tickets, and
Yes.
then how they can follow you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I am Laurie Rodan. I'm Laurie Rodan at Laurie Rodan on Instagram, on Facebook, Laurie Hedstrom Roldan. And the show is at Town Hall Theater in Lafayette. It is open September 9th. I have a matinee opening show. And it's September 9th. And in the evening of September 9th, I have actually a special meet and greet with champagne and appetizers. It's a special ticket. They can go online and you can get tickets for that where I'll be talking a little more about my process of the show. And they can meet me and have a little time with me and have a little champagne and appetizers. And then I have a Sunday matinee, and then I have shows the 15th, which is a Friday matinee, and a Saturday matinee also the following week. So they can get tickets on townhall.com. And yeah, and
So they're mostly matinees, but there's one evening show. Is that right?
one evening, yes, they're mostly matinees with one evening show on September 9th. And that's also going to be the meet and greet show as well. I have an amazing band, musical director Brett Strader. I have Devin Minson on bass, Scott Welsh on drums, and Nick Perez is playing piano for the second weekend. So Brett will be the first weekend and Nick Perez the second weekend. And then I have Michelle Iannaro, who is a town hall gala, and she will be singing with me backup, and Anita Collado. And they'll both be singing backup with me, as well as a little extra special song with me too. So that'll be fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. It was really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Sharon. I hope you can come see the show too.
I
And
definitely will come to
yeah,
see the show. I can't wait.
I can't wait. And thank you very much for this time. And I appreciate very much the time. And I thank you so much.
Yeah, likewise. Can't wait to see it. Take good care.
Thank you so much.